Hello, I'm James Izimoha. Welcome to Africa News. Let's see your headlines. Nigerian residents form vigilante groups amid rising insecurity. International organization warns of looming food crisis across Africa. Kenyan authorities uncover 32 more bodies linked to doomsday cult. Over the past year, around 5,000 people have been abducted across Nigeria, with security lapses contributing to more than 700 deaths, according to authorities. During the same time, an estimated $1.7 million in ransom was paid to criminal gangs. Tesema Kande has more.
The security update covers between July last year up to June this year. According to research firm SBN Morgan Intelligence, there were over 900 abduction incidents, attributing it to weak law enforcement, among other factors. It says the kidnapping crisis has become a lucrative criminal enterprise, describing the latest amount on ransom payments as a new high, up from $655,000. According to the report, the states of Zamfara, Kaduna and Katsina, which have a vast expanse of land and forest where the gangs keep their hostages, had the highest number of people kidnapped during the period. The abductors often killed and tortured people who can't afford to pay for their release. Over 9,000 people, according to security and risk management firm Beacon Consulting, have been kidnapped in the country since President Bola Tinubu became president in 2023. Last week, at least 2 people were killed and more than 100, mostly women and children, were abducted in the northern state of Zamfara. The government says it is engaging more security personnel to dismantle the criminal gangs and ensure improved protection of lives and property. It is also partnering with countries within the West African sub-region in a multinational joint task force and is mobilizing 260,000 personnel to tackle criminality in countries within the region. Tesem Akendi for A News in Jos.
Let's talk to Isa Sanusi, Director at Amnesty International Nigeria, about the rising state of insecurity in the country. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Nigeria has witnessed repeated mass abductions of students, women and villagers in the last 8 months. From your perspective, what does this pattern tell us about the state of internal security in the country today?
Well, the security crisis we have in Nigeria is getting to the what I can best describe as the tipping point, because it has been escalating and escalating, taking new dimensions, putting more people in danger, making Nigerians much unsafe, and escalating the humanitarian crisis that follows, because the security situation is creating a huge humanitarian crisis and creating huge displacement and affecting hundreds and thousands of families. We have been having this crisis in the last 10 years, and things are not improving, even though we cannot compare the number of people killed now with what happened like 4 to 3 years ago. But we are really shocked and definitely are sad that Nigerian authorities could not be able to stop these senseless killings and protect the people and make sure that nobody will carry a gun and go and kill villagers. And the most unfortunate side is the fact that 80% of the victims are people who are living in the villages and the rural areas.
Now, speaking about the government, how do you assess the government's response, both federal and state, to these abductions? Is it a matter of weak capacity, lack of political will, if you will?
Well, I think there is both. I think maybe in our own estimation, because most of these killings are happening in rural areas, therefore they feel like something distant, something happening remotely and far away. And that is why the government is not taking it very, very seriously. And you know the nature of Nigeria, the states don't have any control over security. but they have an indirect control over security because the states get allocation every year from every month from the government, and they are supposed to use that money to build roads, build hospitals, maintain them, provide security, and make sure that every place is safe. Unfortunately, these criminals that are killing people in Nigeria are taking advantage of the absence of roads, absence of infrastructure to be able to move around. Because in many places where these attacks happen, even security men could not go there to give any intervention because there is no road. So, in the absence of this infrastructure as a result of corruption, we can say that the states are also responsible of this problem. And we believe that killing people should not be normalized. We want Nigeria to go back to a situation whereby no one is killed. We have zero murders, zero massacres for the whole year, possibly. But we want a situation whereby these attacks on villages should not be normal. They are gradually becoming normalized, and that is unacceptable because it's the duty of the government fundamentally to protect the people. And if the government could not do that, we believe that it is failing and failing woefully in its responsibilities.
Now, moving forward, what are the immediate humanitarian consequences for children and families affected by these kidnappings, especially regarding trauma, disrupted education, and displacement?
There is nothing provided to these people in terms of dealing with their psychosocial need. This trauma, the consequences of this violence is taking a toll on the mental well-being of hundreds of children, and to the extent that they could not be able to learn anything because their whole minds and brains have been overshadowed by the impact of the conflict. And even where you have the internally displaced persons camps, there is no psychosocial care services available to these people. And this is dangerous because these children that are affected in the next 10 to 15 years, they will become adults. And by the time they become adults carrying this trauma, carrying this baggage of violence, they are going to unleash it on the rest of the society, and we are going to witness more and more violence across Nigeria.
Now, Nigeria's insecurity often spills across borders with bandits, arms traffickers, and displaced populations moving between countries. How is this shaping security dynamics in the wider West African and Sahel region?
Because of the fallout we have of the military coup in especially Mali, the most vulnerable and volatile countries in terms of this insecurity, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. So these countries are currently facing huge attacks from insurgents and extremist groups. And as a result of the fact that Nigeria share border with some of these countries, Nigeria is feeling the impact of that security crisis in these countries. And that is why the whole Sahel region is now in turmoil. It is now in a crisis. It is now in a situation whereby every day all you hear about is not innovation, is not development, but you always hear about bloodshed after bloodshed. And this is unacceptable. And that is why we are saying that the countries of the region have to forget about their political differences, come together and have a common, unified, collaborative strategy to deal with this insecurity. Because if not, the problem will rise from one country to two countries to three countries. And before you know it, it will engulf and consume the whole of the West African region. And that will be a devastating setback for global peace as well.
Now, what role should international partners such as ECOWAS and the African Union and global powers play in addressing mass abductions without undermining Nigeria's sovereignty?
Well, these international or regional bodies, they are fundamentally weak. We all know that. They are very weak, and they are even incapable of addressing major issues affecting the continent and affecting the sub-region. Therefore, I don't have any confidence in their capacity, and I don't think they can be able to do anything. But as far as Nigeria is concerned, Nigeria is a well-endowed, rich country, so to say, and it has the capacity to deal with these problems. I believe that what role the ECOWAS can play is in the sense of galvanizing the support of Nigeria's neighbors like Niger, like Chad, like Cameroon, to help Nigeria in addressing this problem, and Nigeria to help these countries in addressing, so that criminals cannot freely cross from Niger Republic into Nigeria and back, killing people every now and then. I believe that whatever, I know that there is political difference, but the political difference is not as important and as the lives that are being lost. And these countries have to forget their differences, come together. The African Union and ECOWAS should play their role. They should be empowered. They appear to be weak and incapacitated. They should be empowered enough, resourcefully enough, to deal with these problems and unite these countries to face the common enemy, which is insecurity.
Now, finally, from a global security perspective, how do repeated kidnappings in Nigeria affect the country's international image and investor confidence?
No one is going to invest his money in a place where, when you are traveling, either in the day or in the night, somebody will abduct you and demand ransom. Nobody will invest in a place where gunmen can easily go and kill 200 people and disappear, and nothing will happen to them. Nobody will invest his money in a country where criminals are hardly brought to justice. Nobody will invest his money in a volatile place where you are not sure whether tomorrow is going to be safe or not, whether tomorrow is going to be peaceful or not. I believe that this is hugely affecting the economy of Nigeria and the African sub-region. And I believe that whenever these kidnappings and abductions happen, whenever these attacks happen, the value of these countries go down economically and politically and image-wise. And I believe that our leaders, the leaders of our countries, should begin to look at these issues in a business manner, because no one will come to a place where every day people are kidnapped, and they have to do the right thing. And we know, because of the number of people we have, Nigeria is a country of over 200 million. Therefore, whatever is happening in Nigeria can have a devastating global impact. And that is why every country should support Nigeria, should give Nigerian government the support it needs to address this problem. Because if Nigeria continues to live in this kind of crisis, there will be a fallout, and that fallout will affect the whole world.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time and insight.
Thank you for having me this evening.
Save the Children warns 4 African countries face severe shortages of life-saving food treatments for malnourished children. The aid group says supplies could run out within the next 3 months.
At least 4 African countries risk exhausting specialised therapeutic food for severely malnourished children within 3 months. Save the Children says the shortage stems from international aid cuts and dwindling humanitarian funding. Clinic workers say families who relied on support are now struggling without income or food assistance.
As you can see, our people here are not able, they don't have any source of income, because under USAID there were so many branches which used to support our people. Some used to get some finances to support their families or to start some small businesses. And when everything came to a standstill, just like in a blink of an eye, because it just came suddenly, and all the support just went, and it has not been this easy. And as you can see how our delivery...
Aid officials say without immediate intervention, therapeutic food stockpiles in Kenya will run out by October.
We are currently having around 77% of the pipeline for the ready-to-use therapeutic food, which is used to treat severely acute malnourished children and also pregnant and lactating women. And these will have only until October as of now that we see. These are for severe cases that without the nutrition commodity like IUFTF, lives could be lost. Now we must remember that these communities are meant to save lives. Without these commodities, children who are severely malnourished or even moderately malnourished can actually lose lives.
Save the Children estimates 15.6 million people globally could lose access to nutrition treatment this year, including 2.3 million severely malnourished children.
Authorities have exhumed 32 bodies in southeastern Kenya, raising fears of a repeat of a 2023 cult tragedy. Investigators say the latest discovery is again tied to self-styled pastor Paul Mackenzie, whose movement was blamed for hundreds of deaths.
32 bodies have been exhumed in southeastern Kenya, where authorities say graves uncovered in Kwabinzaro appear linked to the same Christian sect behind the 2023 Shakahola cult deaths. The discovery has renewed scrutiny of extremist groups in Kenya after government pledges of tighter oversight following Shakahola. Government officials say the remains show signs of disturbance, likely from wildlife after shallow burials.
Today we have recovered, we have exhumed 7 bodies and also collected 54 body parts, which are spread distances away from the graves. So they look like they were spread by excavated and eaten by wild animals. Only a few bodies had clothes, most were naked. We have noted that at this particular site, the bodies look a bit fresh. They are not fully skeletonized, unlike last week. The bodies we exhumed last week were full skeletons with no flesh.
Relatives of missing cult members say they are still waiting for answers.
My brothers and I have been raised in the Christian faith, but compared to me, the two were really deep in the faith. I would not know how it happened that they found themselves too deep in this Shakahola cult.
Investigators continue combing the area for more remains while DNA testing is underway to identify victims. For many families, the exhumations reopen old wounds and prolong the search for closure.
Rwandan officials say 7 migrants deported from the United States have arrived in their country under a deal with the Trump administration. They are the first of 250 migrants expected to be deported from the U.S. Chris Ocharmga has more from Kinshasa.
Rwanda's government spokesperson, Yolande Makolo, confirmed that the 7 migrants arrived in mid-August. She didn't reveal their nationalities, but said 4 have requested to remain in Rwanda, while the other 3 asked to be returned to their countries of origin. The Trump administration is pushing ahead with mass deportations of undocumented immigrants, negotiating deals with countries willing to take them in. Rwanda becomes the 3rd African nation after Eswatini and South Sudan to accept deportees from the U.S. Human rights groups warn that such deportations may violate international law if people are sent to countries where they may face abuse or torture. In 2022, Rwanda had a similar deal with the UK's Conservative government, but the deal was cancelled after the Labour government took over in 2024. Kigali says all the people will be accommodated by an international organization and given support and protection from their government. Chris Ochamringa for A News in Kinshasa.
Ethiopia has signed a $2.5 billion agreement with Nigeria's Dangote Group to build a fertilizer plant. The project aims to strengthen agriculture, create jobs, and reduce Africa's dependence on fertilizer imports.
Ethiopia and Dangote Group have agreed to build a fertilizer plant worth $2.5 billion in the southeastern town of Gode, with capacity for 3 million metric tons annually. The deal gives Ethiopia a 40% stake and Dangote 60%, as both sides seek to boost agricultural productivity and curb reliance on costly fertilizer imports across Africa. Government officials say the partnership is a milestone investment for Ethiopia's fertilizer self-sufficiency.
Overall project is estimated toward $2.5 billion, and the plan is to produce 3 million metric tons of urea fertilizer. The government's share, through Ethiopian Investment Holding will be 40%, and the Dangote Group will have 60%.
Dangote officials say the new plant will rank among the largest globally, with production exceeding Ethiopia's domestic needs.
As of today, it's going to be second largest plant of urea in the world. Compared to our own in Nigeria, the same size. So this is very, very historic, and it is by far even more than what Ethiopia is consuming. But by the time it is ready, I know agriculture is being propelled in Ethiopia on a massive level.
The project signals Ethiopia's ambition to become a regional fertilizer hub. Once operational, it could supply neighboring countries and reshape Africa's agricultural input market over the coming decade.
Well, that's all we have today in African News. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to A News.